Hey there, welcome to the Junk Drawer. My name is Enzo, and today we have a special interview video. So, I had the opportunity to sit down with Jonathan from I Dream of Jonny. His whole thing is he collects American Girl dolls, and I know very little about that whole scene, I guess. So afterwards, I know a lot more now. I'm recording this after our talk, but it's a very interesting conversation. We talk about obviously American Girl dolls, and then we kind of get into like other topics. So it's not all American Girl. So it's a very interesting chat. It's longish. The video is probably like about an hour. So buckle up, and I will see you afterwards for my final thoughts. Thank you for joining me, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So Jonathan is an American Girl doll collector, and obviously, I don't collect American Girl. I know very little about American Girl, and I'm curious about. I don't know. I just wanted to talk to an American Girl collector and kind of get their feedback or whatever, or their viewpoint on dolls and all that fun stuff. And maybe Jonathan will be able to show us some of his prized possessions.
My life's work.
Yes. So I guess we should start with what got you into American Girl dolls? Was there like a specific moment, or was there how did it all begin for you?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was a specific moment, but when I was a little kid, I loved dolls. Like, they were my favorite toys. And I grew up in the rural South, and my parents, are pretty traditional and would not let me have dolls. So, here and there, like, my grandmother would like sneak me a Barbie or a Polly Pocket or something. But American Girl was this, elusive thing. Like, you couldn't go to like Walmart and buy an American Girl doll. You had to order them from a catalog, and they were really expensive. I mean, I think when I was a kid, they were somewhere around $95 each, I think. So, it was just, you just couldn't easily get an American Girl doll. So, I'd had like little experiences here and there with Barbie and stuff, and I just never got my Molly or Samantha. So, I did end up getting the books. My parents would, parents are desperate to get their kids to read, so they'll let them read like literally anything. So
Right.
I was able to get my hands on all of the books that came with. I don't know how familiar you are with them, but like the American Girl, like historical stuff, especially from like the 80s and 90s, they were all accompanied by fictional stories, but they were meant to tell stories about like the Edwardian period or World War II. And it was like the line was originally meant to teach like little girls about history, like what it was like to be a 9-year-old girl at different points in time. So anyway, so I was able to get my hands on the books, and I was, I read every single one of them. And we did get the catalogs to the house too. Again, it was like a catalog mail order only thing. So again, I just was never able to get one, but for years and years and years would read those books and just think, oh, I wish I had the doll here with me. And so, after a few years, again, I never got my American Girl doll as a kid. So, you eventually just kind of grow out of dolls. Well, not everybody, but I did. Like somewhere around 1994 is where I kind of figured out I sort of just lost interest in the whole thing and kind of never really thought about it again until COVID hit, basically. And I think it sort of gave me like an early onset midlife crisis. So, like basically, like without like giving you the long form, like long-winded version of it, my grandmother passed away in 2021, and I just was spending a lot of time thinking about her. And it was at a time where like I was on the other side of the country, so I couldn't even go to the funeral. So I just was lying in bed one night, just a little bit emotional and just thinking about things. And I just, one of the things I remembered um, about her is she was always so supportive of me. Like anything I liked or wanted to do, she was just like always on board. And yeah, it just got me thinking about American Girl again and how, I think if she could have, she would have got me one of those dolls. So yeah, like me at 36 years old, it's probably like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I should have been asleep, and just I was like, "What's American Girl up to these days?" Just innocently, like so. I was like, "Okay, well, what do they cost now?" Like before I knew it, like I had bought like my first American Girl Molly doll at 2 o'clock in the morning as a 36-year-old, and like sobbed and cried for like 2 hours after that. So yeah, it was definitely like a bumpy road to get there. So yeah, that's kind of my villain origin story with
Your origin story.
American Girl.
Yeah, grandmothers are the best. I mean, I feel like grandmas are like the best at like being supportive of their like weird grandchildren or like their
Yeah,
like specific interests. They're like, all right, your parents won't get that for you. I'll get you that.
that's totally how it was. The parents are like, I have to make sure that this kid doesn't grow up screwed up, and the grandmother's like, it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah,
So,
it's like whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like COVID definitely did that. I feel like for a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people, since they were, it was a very isolating time, and I think people had a lot of time to think about things and reminisce about their childhoods, and
yeah.
I feel like a lot of collectors were born out of COVID, and I'm definitely one of those for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell, like, if you go look at, I think the website is Worth Point, where you can go see what auctions used to go for before 2020. Like, I just wished more than anything I had a time machine and I could go back to like 2015 and start buying this stuff up. Because, I mean, there are things that have seen sell for like, oh gosh, in like 2014 at auction would sell for like $500 maybe. And now, like, you're talking $8,000. Like, it's just absolutely insane. Like COVID brought so many of us, and I think a lot of us just had some extra cash from the the stimulus and everything. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Good old days. The good old days. I was actually just thinking about that the other day. I was like, wow, remember when like no one was working but we were getting paid, and yeah, all this disposable
like
income.
let's go fix all my childhood trauma in a few months before the world gets back to normal.
Right, right. So how many American Girl dolls do you have in your collection?
I
Approx.
I I don't know, and I think that's probably a common answer for people that collect as like
Yeah,
crazily as I do. I think it's somewhere around 50 to 60, which honestly, like I know people that collect American Girl that have hundreds, and these
yeah,
are big dolls. Like it's we're not talking like fashion dolls that are this big. Like an American Girl doll is like we're talking like
yeah.
they're big.
Yeah, they're yeah.
So I think
Um,
it's somewhere around 50 to 60. I did a lot of like reselling and stuff during COVID, and that's kind of how I like funded my collection. So I had like a certain amount of money that I was comfortable spending on my collection. So what I would do is just like buy lots on eBay and then split them up, keep what I wanted to keep, and then sell everything else. And that kind of helped put some funds into my doll collection. So I mean I've had hundreds of dolls come through my house like in and out, but the like permanent collection is probably somewhere around 50 if I had to guess. Although there's probably like 10 or 15 like packed away in a closet somewhere that I've forgotten about.
yeah, I'm always like fascinated by American Girl collectors because I think it's primarily the size of the dolls. There's like
Mhm.
so much real estate that you have to like set aside for these like giant dolls that I
Oh,
don't.
absolutely. And they have all sorts of furniture and stuff, and it's like it's collectible as well. Like not everybody collects furniture just because they like
Right,
don't have the
right.
space for it. And I don't even I don't even think I have any of mine out right now. I just recently moved, so my collection doesn't quite look like it's supposed to, but the furniture is gigantic. It's like, I mean, we're talking like tables are like this big, and it just, yeah, we talk about real estate. There are people that basically dedicate entire rooms to their collections because, like, an American Girl dollhouse is like, it takes up an entire wall. Like, the stuff is so big.
I just watched a video where of this guy who had an entire room full of American Girl dolls, and then he had like a wall of with a dollhouse, like a giant. It's
Was it
cool.
Chris? I bet it was Chris.
Maybe from Truly. Was it the
I
Truly?
think so. I think they can. Chris and I know each other. I mean, again,
I
like
think that, yeah, I
guys
think
that
it was.
collect American Girl, there aren't like that many of us, so we like all know each other pretty much.
Yeah,
But yeah, Chris has a really like big collection. He's been collecting for years and years. So anytime something American Girl comes out, he is on. He goes to the store that day and buys it. And so yeah,
yeah,
we're a different breed for sure. I feel like American Girl collectors, like, it just like that passion runs really really deep. So
yeah,
we're willing to like dedicate entire rooms of our houses to
yeah.
it.
I mean, I'm like, I'm primarily a fashion doll collector, so
Mhm.
obviously a much smaller scale, and I'm
Yeah.
even like, I don't want like a play set. That's just too much, space. But I can't imagine like,
Oh no, I could see like your doll collection is like runs all the way up to like the molding, like the ceiling
yeah,
behind you.
yeah,
Okay, so it's always a toss up between Molly and Samantha for me. So again, I don't know how much your audience knows about American Girl because again, I feel like a lot of times people either collect like American Girl or fashion dolls. Like, it tends to be like kind of split. So a lot of times, people that are really into like Barbie and Monster High and all of that don't know a ton. So like, stop me if I'm saying like a bunch of stuff where it's just like, yeah, everybody knows that. But so the first three dolls were Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten, like the three like original that were released in 1986, and that was pretty much all that was available when I was a kid. So like, I think I was born in 84. So by the time I was really like wanting them and asking for them, those were really the only three dolls that were available. So that they're always going to be my favorite. And again, I remember asking the most for Samantha and Molly when I was little. So yeah, it's a toss up between the two. It just depends on the day you ask me. And it was the same when I was a kid. I probably couldn't pick a favorite. I would have taken any of them. I would, love to have any American Girl doll. But yeah, if I really had to pick, I would maybe say Molly.
Molly. Is that
Hmm.
who is behind you in the multiples? Is that the same? I'm assuming that's the same character.
Yeah. Okay. So I collect a little bit differently than a lot of people do. I really love to collect like first edition stuff and like all of the earliest stuff. And that's what makes collecting really fun for me because it's so hard to find stuff from the early years. And one of the things that, oh, by the way, yes, this is Molly right here. And I have like, I say I have like 50 to 60 American Girl dolls. Like 10 of them are Molly, 12 of them are Samantha. Like, I have a lot of duplicates. So
Right, right.
yeah, the way I collect is I like, again, like I said, first editions. So the way American Girl is that, they were kind of like, it was a new company, right? It was an independent company when Pleasant Rowland started it in 1986. She was a school teacher that was a textbook author that saved up like honestly a ton of money. But she started like, I say bootstrap. She spent $1 million like on the brand in the first year. So like, when I say bootstrap, I mean we're talking like, Louboutin boots. But
Right.
so she, like, there was just a lot of stuff that they were figuring out as a company in the beginning. So like, they would do something in 1986 and maybe there was like an issue with a mold or like a particular part that they couldn't get. There would be like a lot of substitutions and changes. So like, when you have like a Samantha doll from 1986, she looks very different from a Samantha doll, from 1987 or 1988. So like, every year that went on, a lot of changes were made. So that to me is like really fun to seek out because, again, they were really successful in the beginning, but especially in those like early couple of years, there were a lot of changes and they didn't make as many like, as for instance, like a Barbie, I'm assuming they make like tens upon tens of thousands of those.
Right.
Whereas like, a lot of the stuff that I collect, they might have only made, 5 to 10,000 of them. And a lot of them got trashed over the years. And so yeah, it's all just like super hard to find. And the accessory sets and everything that come with them, that's another thing that I really love, like trying to find first editions, because again, it was like a bootstrapped company. So like a lot of the first accessory sets were just repurposed Christmas ornaments. So they didn't, like Pleasant Rowland didn't sit down with a design and take it to a factory and say, hey, make this. In those early years, they would buy, like literally just buy boxes of Christmas ornaments, like pull the loop out of them and like repackage them. So like they're trying to see if I have anything that I can grab. Not easily, but well, yeah, a lot of the early accessory sets were Christmas ornaments. So,
Right.
really, really rare things. And another, like, again, just to get really nerdy, like one of Samantha's first accessory sets was an edible gingerbread house. Like, you would basically, it's like a kit, like where you get cookie, like a little bag of cookies, a little bag of candy, and like a piping bag. And
Uh-huh.
like that was my holy grail for the longest time. Like it took me like a couple of years to find it, and I finally found one from 1986 with like the cookies still intact and everything, like food from like 1986. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot. Like collecting American Girl, like especially the early stuff, is like an entirely different ball game, which is why people get so vicious about it. Because sometimes like you'll want something for your collection, but it might come up on eBay like once every 2 or 3 years, like really,
Right.
really rare stuff. So that's why I have like multiples of everything, because there's just different versions, a lot of changes made in the early years. So yeah, they're all different to me anyway, even though the average person is like, why do you have 10 of those? So,
Right. So where are you finding these dolls? Like, are you going to eBay, Facebook, other
most, I would say
places?
most of it is eBay actually. The I was on Facebook for a while, and it's just there was a lot of drama. I ended up deleting and leaving Facebook. That's a story for another day. But you typically don't get really good deals on things on Facebook. Now you might be able to find some rare things on Facebook every once in a while, but the best stuff I've gotten from my collection for the most part was somebody that again just doesn't know the difference between a Samantha that's worth $3,000 versus one that's worth $100. So if you're on eBay enough and just refresh and refresh, like I look at eBay all day, like I still do, like especially in COVID, like I couldn't go like 20 minutes without picking up my phone and refreshing my safe searches. So that's really where I've gotten most of my good deals on American Girl, is just because again, it's not like Barbie where like if you have like say a skipper from 1987, like cool top skipper or whatever, you everybody knows how to look that up. And it's all the same for the most part, and it's really easy to figure out what that's worth if you just find it at Goodwill or whatever. You just Google it or whatever, look at eBay, and that's worth like what, $40 now. So with American Girl, it's not like that. Like the difference, I should pull some out so I can show you, but like the difference between a doll that's worth $150 and worth like $1,500 is sometimes just the difference in like a brushstroke on the tooth paint. Let me grab one. I think it will be easier
Sure.
to like
Yeah.
illustrate this again, because Barbie people are probably like, what? So I'm gonna try and find. I've gotten rid of a lot of my cheaper ones, but like let's do this one here. So this doll. So one of the things too is like they changed the body type of the dolls in like 1991. So like they call them like a white body if they're like the early ones. So when they started in 1986, the dolls that they were making had like white cloth torsos, and then in 1991 they changed them to tan. So that like that's a big transitional period. So generally the ones that have like the white torsos are worth generally a decent amount more. They're more sought after. So I'm just gonna grab this one because she's closest. So in the market changes all the time depending on who's looking. So if you look here, like so this Molly here is from 1986. She was from the first batch of them that was ever made. She looks. I understand she looks like she's gonna like stab you in your sleep, but let me see if I can get her close in a second. But I don't have my camera mirrored, so I'm sitting here like doing this. So this one here is from about 1991.
Okay.
Again, I know this looks so crazy. So if you look here on her teeth from 1991, we've got, you can kind of see how her teeth are like on a little on the bigger side, but they're very uniform and like very clean looking and very square shaped.
Right.
Whereas this one has, let's see here. I don't know if you can see this, but she's got like paint across the gap of her teeth. They're real uneven, and collectors
Yeah.
call this like chip tooth. Like it looks like her teeth are chipped.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this doll, again, it depends on who's looking and what the market's doing. This doll right here is probably worth $75 maybe, and this one is worth like 1,500. So they're
Wow.
very, very
Okay.
similar to
Yeah.
like the average person. And even still, like there are a lot of American Girl collectors that do not care about the difference between these. They just collect the characters and the stories and stuff. But I'm like one of those people that really likes to obsess over all of the tiny little details about these and collect all of
Yeah.
the early versions and stuff. So um, I forgot what the original question was, and you're probably going to hear me say that 1,000 times today. So,
I forgot too, so that's fine.
but yeah, so like that's sort of how I do my collection is collecting all the earliest versions. Oh, we were talking about eBay, that's right. So to
All right.
see like if somebody finds one of those dolls in Goodwill, for instance, they're not going to know to look like how to look for those small details that like makes that big of a price difference. So there have been so many times where I've just gotten to purchase a doll for like $150 that like just listed as American Girl Molly doll, and it ended up being a first edition from '86 that was worth, at the time like $1,500. So a lot of that to build the collection, and then every once in a while, like if I'm like, okay, I have 5 of these, I need to like chill out, so I would take one and sell it, and obviously, make a lot of money on it and put more into the doll collections.
What is the most that you've spent on an American Girl doll?
So yeah, to an American Girl collector, this is like not the craziest thing in the world, but the most I've ever spent is $4,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, it was part of a trade, but I had a doll that was worth about 3 grand at the time, and I put an
Okay.
extra 1,000 worth. You want to see her?
Sure. I would love to see what a four
I
thousand
figured
dollars.
you would ask this question today, so I have her at the ready. So this is the 230th Samantha that was ever made.
Oh
So
wow.
she is signed and numbered by the founder of the company, Pleasant Rowland, and she's
It's
numbered.
it's crazy that they numbered all of them.
So it was an add-on that you could buy in the beginning. So when the first catalogs came out, she did it for the first roughly like 12 months of the company for the first 3 dolls. So you could here, where can we put her? It was part of like an add-on you could do basically. If you purchase a doll, you could purchase. This looks insane. Hang on, let me put this over here. You could purchase a signed doll instead of just like a regular one. So they had like a collector edition, and
Right.
so she would like she did 2,500 of them for each character. So there are 2,500 signed Samanthas, 2,500 signed Mollys, and 2,500 signed Kirstens, and they're really hard to find to begin with. Again, she only did it for about 12 months. So really, really early dolls. And the one that I have here, number 230, she has like her original certificate of authenticity. The book that originally came with her is signed by the author, like, and it's dated a month before the company even launched. But yeah, this doll was part of the first batch of American Girl dolls that was ever made, and yeah, she was the 230th one signed and numbered by the founders. So they fetch a pretty penny, like, and that's like, I lower numbers will go even higher, and I always like hesitate to say how much because I'm trying to find one and I'm trying not to get like, pay through the
Yeah.
nose for it. But
Yeah.
I was in the deal fell through, unfortunately, but I was actually about to spend, I hesitate to say this, but I almost spent $8,000 on a really low number one. But it was going to require selling like half of the stuff to get her, but
Right. Right. Well,
so
that's when you put it in a glass case and like set it like on a pedestal and make sure no one touches it.
it's a piece of history. I mean, yeah, the dog isn't allowed anywhere near any of this stuff. So, yeah, I know American Girl collectors can, we're, like I said, we're kind of a different breed. We can, like, the claws come out for certain auctions for sure. And I've definitely, like, that's why eBay can be so stressful because something will come up and, like, you know, and even though there aren't like thousands of people that collect this, like I feel like, there's a good, 15 to 25 people at any given point that are really looking for something. So when a rare piece comes up that, we haven't seen on eBay for like 2 years, like the claws come out, sellers are getting emailed, like asked a million questions. Like you can just hear the exhaustion in a seller's like tone when they're messaging you back about some unicorn that they have. They're just like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get this out of my house. And so these crazy people stop messaging me about it all day. So
Yeah, I can imagine it gets a little pricey because I mean, like a new if you were to go into like the American Girl doll store and pick up a doll, like how much would that run you? Like a couple hundred, 100 or
no,
something?
$115 is their like
Okay,
base price now, which
which is
honestly is really, really great considering
yeah,
in 1986 they were charging $85 for them. So I feel like if you adjust for inflation, like they should be closer to $200 now. And the American Girl has done a really good job of keeping the retail price point down. It's been at the sacrifice of some quality. Like you don't get as good a quality outfits and stuff. But I mean, that said, though, like to be able to keep them down to $115 for a new one, I think is really commendable because they, again, in the beginning, $85 in the 80s was a lot of money for a doll.
is there a Grail doll or like a unicorn doll or whatever that you don't have that that you would love to have in your collection?
So as of right now, the only thing that I really, really want that I don't have, I may never get. And so we talked about signed dolls earlier. So the what I really, really, really want is a doll that was signed and numbered in September of 1986. So Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten with low numbers. So I want to say the first 50 that she signed in like this thicker marker, like numbers 1 through like 49 or 50. In the first month of like literally the first couple of weeks of the company, she signed him in this really thick like Sharpie looking marker. That's what I'm after. And I almost scored one a few weeks ago and the deal fell through, unfortunately, but they're really expensive. They're gonna probably start around $8,000 each.
Right.
So, but again, that's the kind of thing that doesn't come up. We may never see that on eBay ever again. So, like, I have my eye on a few things that if one ever comes up that I'm going to sell to fund purchasing one of those. Cause again,
Okay.
like, it's like American Girl is so expensive when you collect the early stuff. So, yeah, that's really all I want that I don't have are just low number signed dolls. I have signed Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten. They're just I want lower numbers and I want them from
Right.
September instead of
We'll,
October.
we'll put that into the universe.
Yes.
We'll make it happen. Right. Um, what are your thoughts on this these like collabs that they're doing with like Barbie and Disney and I don't know, are there other collabs that they've
I mean,
done?
I love anything that brings attention to the brand. I collect. I shouldn't even say collect. Every once in a while, I'll buy like a new release or something that they do just to enjoy it because it's fun to kind of see what they're doing. And I love the brand, and I want to see them succeed and continue to like grow their audience. So anytime they do collaborations with like Disney and who yeah, they did the Barbie collab last year. I bought two of them. Yeah, so I really love them because I think that it brings more attention to the brand. I really think that Barbie release that they did was a really smart move, and from what I understand, they're working on more Barbie collabs, which is fantastic because I think once word got out about that, I think a lot of Barbie collectors picked up that doll. Because they did a
Yeah.
number one Barbie as an American Girl. I think that's still like a Barbie collectible. So
Yeah.
I would love for more fashion doll people to get into American Girl, even though it might mean, more claws on when it comes to eBay. But I think it's a really underrated brand as far as, collectors go. I
Yeah.
aren't enough of us, I feel like.
So um so I've like toyed with the idea of getting one, but it would have to be I'm primarily a boy doll collector, male doll collector. Um so it would probably be a boy. And I wanted to talk to you about boy American Girl dolls. I know
Okay.
that I did a little bit of research. So I know that there were the Biddy twins was the first introduction of a boy, and then there was a
Honestly,
kind of,
yeah, probably
and then there was what's his name? I don't even know his name.
Logan. Logan
Right.
from
So he was
2017.
the right,
Yeah.
right. And then I know they do, like, you can go onto the website and do a custom doll, a boy
Mhm.
doll. Um, what are your thoughts on boys being in the American Girl doll line?
Okay, so it's a hard thing to talk about, I feel like, because there's always been this thing that kind of it's a bit of a pet peeve, but I also understand it, is that American Girl is very heavily focused on girls as their demographic. And I'm sure you understand too. It's like it sucks being a boy, like especially a little boy, where you feel invisible. Like I like these dolls too. Like, does this mean I'm not allowed to have dolls? It's very complicated when you're a little boy in the South in the
Yep.
'80s that wants dolls. But so it's yeah, I have sort of I see both sides, right? So the company was originally founded to get girls interested in history. It was a company that was meant for girls. Like that was the original intent of the company. And I hear collectors on both sides of it as well. And it's interesting to me that they make boy dolls now, but they still like their language and their marketing is still very like get your girl the gift she'll love the most for Christmas or whatever. Like it's very gendered marketing, and you know I think that's a bit I don't know, it's a bit old fashioned. I feel like, but yeah. So there's that, but like I like that they're making boy dolls. I think that they're cool, but at the same time, I always have to clarify when I say like I wish American Girl would just have gender neutral language in their marketing. It doesn't mean I wish that they like put equal focus on boy characters and things like that. I love that American Girl is about celebrating girls and young women. Like I think that's such an important thing. But my big thing about it is like I think it's also important for boys to celebrate young women, and so it's that's kind of how I feel about it. I like the boy dolls. I obviously don't. I mean, I have like four of them. It's not. I mean, of course, I like them, but
Right.
again, I collect the vintage stuff mostly, so it's not like a big part of my collection because again, I love stuff like from 1995 and earlier, and that was before they had any like you know canonically male characters. So um, I like them. I wish the big difference with them, they basically don't have the teeth on them. They have like closed mouths. And again, mine are all like packed away. Maybe you can do some, internet magic and put a picture on the screen. But yeah, the boys weirdly, like they don't have teeth, which to me is like a quintessential like American Girl doll feature, except for their native character. Kaya, they had an indigenous character, Kaya, that was released in 2002. And so her whole story, like it, I'm probably going to get the details wrong because this is past my collector era, but Kaya is from like the Nez Perce tribe. Like that's what her character's about. And so I don't know if it's dolls or people in particular, if they show their teeth, like that's seen as a sign of aggression. So when American Girl was developing that doll, they when working with people that were in the Nez Perce tribe, they were saying like this doll to show her teeth would be a sign of aggression. So they resculpted the head and everything and did a doll specifically that didn't have teeth to for Kaya. So it's been kind of a controversial issue actually, which I won't get into now, but a lot of people don't like that they've used that sculpt and and done modifications to that to make like a boy character and stuff too. It's sort of like again
Oh, so they used that same exact sculpt for
for
the boy.
Logan, they used Kaya's head sculpt and put
Oh,
like a short wig on it. And I agree with people. Like I feel like they shouldn't have done that.
yeah,
They should have
that's
done a sculpt for Logan.
that
But
sounds like a
I
cost saving measure. That's what that sounds like.
I'm sure. Yeah. Again, I don't think that American Girl like has like a malicious bone in their body. I don't think they're setting out to
Right.
to start controversy or anything. But things happen. Obviously, I think it was a poor decision. I agree. I think it was a poor decision. But they're still using that sculpt to like in the CYO, or oh, I say CYO, it's the create your own doll, where you can go and like you can make whatever like combination of doll you want, like the hair and the like their head sculpt and everything. So you can still use that to make a boy doll and stuff. But I mean, I don't know.
I, yeah, I did think that was. I thought that was interesting. I did a video where I went onto the American Girl doll site and I created a boy doll, and
Mhm.
it was weird that there weren't the boy doll looks exact the head looks exactly like the other girl dolls, and I was like, why isn't there a
Yeah.
different head sculpt for the boy? Because not that they would look dramatically different, I don't think,
Mhm.
because if you know at that age
Yeah,
it's you know
exactly.
they're
Yeah. So
still like
the
uh,
original head sculpt was done by, again, when we're talking like bootstrapping, like Pleasant Company, like the original before it was named American Girl, it was originally called Pleasant Company, which is a pun on the founder's name. Her name was Pleasant Rowland, and so the name, really clever name. But so she didn't design or sculpt the actual dolls. She went to a company called Gutz, Gotz, which was a German doll manufacturer. They've been around since the 50s. And so they actually have, I can go grab one. I actually have one. But the original American Girl dolls were actually just repurposed Gutz dolls. Like it was a head sculpt that was around for several years. I think the earliest one I've seen is 1984. And I actually have one from 1984. Give me 1 second. I'll go grab her if you want to
yeah.
actually see her. Okay, so this doll is sort of known as like a prototype doll for the American Girl doll. So this is a Gutz doll made by the company Gutz in 1984. So when Pleasant Rowland was conceiving the American Girl brand, the story has it she was in Marshall Fields in Chicago in the toy department. Either her or one of her friends, whatever. They found a doll that was really similar to this, that was made by Gutz. And so when she was developing the dolls, I believe it was probably 1985 when this was happening. She was, I think, basically was just going through their catalog to find a doll that would work for, the dolls that she wanted to make. So yeah, these original dolls actually had hard bodies. So let me see if I can show you. I mean, this looks crazy, but their torsos are actually like a hard vinyl. And
Okay.
so anyway, so what I was getting at as far as like the boy dolls go, they made both boy and girl versions of this doll, and they used the same head sculpt. They just,
Huh.
used a shorter wig on them. So yeah, these dolls were originally sculpted to look somewhere around like 8 or 9 years old. And I think you're right. Like the heads, for an 8 or 9 year old look-alike doll probably wouldn't be that different, versus like doing a doll like Barbie or Ken or whatever. That's, I love boy dolls. I actually collect 60s Ken. I have a pretty decent like Ken. I'm the weird one. I loved the flocked version, so I have a lot of the ones with the flocked hair with
Yeah,
like
I was going to
kind of the
ask you
dope
about
one.
your other like you obviously collect more than just American Girl. You have like other
Unfortunately,
yeah.
yes.
Tell me a little bit about your other collections.
Okay, so I would say probably the biggest other collection that I have right now is a Barbie collection, and again, I'm a completist. You can probably see the like evidence of that I want everything. So the problem with me for Barbie is that I love everything. Like I'm not a person that's very critical of dolls. Like I love everything. Like I just love dolls. So I love everything from 1959 to my childhood era, like anything through the 90s. So it is so much stuff. And so like I started collecting Barbie a couple of years ago. Basically just to like try and pick up some of the things that I really love from my childhood. So like late 80s, early 90s Barbie. I really love the 1987 Skipper, the one that the 90s one with the big eyes. I love her. So I have a bunch of her like new in box, and so I started that, but I was like, oh, I really love first editions. Let's have a look at like what 1960s Barbie's fashion is like. And then again, one of the reasons I love American Girl is the quality of the
Hmm.
like clothes and the dolls and everything. So you go back and you like I mean, everybody that's like had any 60s Barbie stuff knows like what exceptional quality all the clothes and everything are. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I have a 60s Barbie collection now. So, and then like, there's the Modier. I'm like, that's my favorite design of everything. So I guess I'm going to start that. It's just, I like literally have stuff, everything from like 1960 to 1994. And again, I've got it packed away. I don't have space for it right now, but I just, like I said, it's hard because I don't dislike anything. So if I
Right.
buy one, I want everything. That's the problem. Like I have such a completist brain when it comes to collecting. Like especially like if I get one unicorn, I'm like, okay, well I have to have the best collection in the world now. So I have to buy all the common stuff, every version of it's just it's an illness really. I probably should be a therapist.
No, I feel like a lot of collectors have that mindset where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm really into this one thing. I wonder if there's more of them, or if I wonder, like, like, yeah, as soon as you see something that you don't have, it's like, oh, I kind of want that. So that's normal.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I would have loved this as a kid. I'm giving that to my like childhood self. So it's just this whole like layer upon layers of excuses and reasoning. So I have like, yeah, I did a Barbie. It's so funny when the Barbie movie came out. I was like, I should probably like do a quick Barbie collection tour. Yeah, maybe that'll help my like YouTube channel out. So I like literally sat down in my pajamas and glasses and went through every Barbie in my collection. I didn't realize how many times it would be seen actually. So I was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna make this quickly so people can kind of see that, I have multiple interests. And so
Right.
I just sat down and showed every Barbie. Like half of them didn't even have clothes on. It was like the worst video I've made on my entire channel. It has like almost 30,000 views now. So I'm like, whoops.
An audience. There's an audience.
I know. And the funny thing is, I actually stopped collecting Barbie when the movie came out because prices got so crazy on stuff, and I was already paying through the nose for American Girl stuff. So it was just like, I need to take a break. So I haven't bought any. Actually, I don't think I've bought any Barbie stuff since the movie came out, and I really want to get back into it because I love it so much. Especially like again, I love 60s Ken stuff. Again, it's because it's got the quality of like all of that early Barbie stuff with the zippers and the snaps and like tiny little ties and stuff. It's really, really, really good. I
It's
love
mind blowing. Yeah, it's mind
it.
blowing compared to like the stuff that they give us today. It's like it's night and day, and
Yeah,
it's so sad. It's so
I
sad.
know.
And if you want that quality, you're either going to pay a lot for it, like they're going to put out like a premium doll or whatever,
Mhm.
a collector doll, and even then, it's kind of like hit or miss. Or you have to go to like Etsy or something and find someone who
Mhm.
makes that
Yeah.
kind of stuff for you. So
American Girl is the same way. I kind of touched on it earlier, but Mattel bought American Girl in 1998. Again, I always usually when I'm talking to doll people, they're American Girl people, so I forget that there's like major details that I've left out. But Mattel purchased the company for like 700 and something million in 1998. And so like yeah, the quality definitely over the years after the Mattel purchase has gone down. I really do think a lot of it has been to keep up with inflation, like without having to charge $1 zillion for these things. But the same thing happened to American Girl, is like the quality on the outfits has come down a bit. Although I will say, like the new American Girl stuff, like new releases for American Girl, the quality on that stuff is, I think, much better than like Playline Barbie stuff, like the stuff that you would find like in Walmart or whatever. Like like the worst thing American Girl makes is still like very good quality, I feel like, compared to most other doll lines from what I can tell. But
right.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Barbie collection. Other things I collect. Again, I don't have like huge collections of other things. I try and keep it unserious because its space is such a premium. But I have a small Polly Pocket collection from like the
Okay.
late '80s, early '90s. I loved them. I have a small G1 My Little Pony collection, but again, anything that I can find that's like less than $5. Like I'm not about to like, I think I probably picked one of the most expensive doll like things to get into with American Girl. So like when I'm like, what's My Little Pony like, and I see I can get first edition stuff for like $9, like that's basically free. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I picked up a couple lots of G1 ponies just because I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm whatever. I'm kind of going down that road, so I might as well.
And they're so
Yeah, they're
cute. I
great.
really love
Yeah,
them.
yeah, they're really cute.
But yeah, it's
Uh,
all sitting in boxes in a closet. I have no space anymore to display this stuff. It's a problem. Where I'm living right now, we're landing here. We think we're only going to be here for a year. So I lived in Portland, Oregon, for years and years, and my partner and I just moved to North Carolina like 6 months ago. So we're just sort of in a temporary location while we kind of figure out where exactly we want to live in North Carolina. So yeah, it's a war zone over here, like as far as like how my collection looks. Because I'm just like, I'm not going to be here that long. So like, I don't know. It's just, yeah, there's a
yeah,
lot of stuff packed away. And I'm still like, you would think that I would stop buying, but my buying is just as bad as ever. I got boxes showing up to the house like every other day. And it's just like getting put in another box and put away. It's so bad. I've got a problem.
no, yeah, no. I had to put myself on a budget this year because when I first started, I started collecting a couple years ago, so I'm like very late to collecting. But
So you
uh,
had you had nothing and went to all of that like within 2 years.
yeah,
I know.
yeah,
I get it.
it's
I
obsessive,
really do.
obsessive.
Yeah, I just always feel like it's dangerous when it's stuff that you can just buy while you're buying groceries.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah, of
it
course.
just tends to pile up even more. But yeah,
I
Monster High is a really cool range.
yeah, yeah. No, I love Monster High. It's
Mhm.
I love the I just gravitate towards like the darkness of it and the weirdness
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
kind of
so
like
funny. I'm a weirdo. Like I totally get like it's to collect like it's so funny that I collect something as stuffy as American Girl because I was like very alternative like when I was younger, like listening to like heavy metal, Riot Girl, like I was kind of wild. So
you were that
it's so
girl.
funny. Yeah. Yeah, you would think that I would collect stuff like Monster High, but again, I just, to me it's like I think closing a circle from childhood maybe, but yeah. Like it's people are like, "Oh my god, what are you listening to right now?" Like with that doll collection behind you, you're so weird.
That's what makes us all unique and beautiful.
Hmm.
I did play Barbie with my cousin a lot as a kid. So I would go to her house and we would break out her Barbies and play house and do all that fun stuff. So I was definitely like, exposed to dolls as a kid, but I never owned anything because that would be weird for a little boy.
Oh,
So
don't I know? I had plenty of kids and adults telling me that too. So I love that story because I have a lot of those stories too of like going over to a
yeah,
babysitter's house or someone's house that had a bunch of Barbies, and I was like, can I play with that? It's just like so few memories like that. There's just, it's yeah, I love that story because I think a lot of men that were once boys that really wanted dolls have stories of like being able to like sneak over to somebody's house and like brush a doll's hair for a few minutes. So
yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
I think part of the reason why I started collecting is because I think I finally like allowed myself to enjoy these things and like I had watched a few YouTubers like doll review YouTubers for years before I actually bought my first doll and yeah there was like a moment where I was like you know what I'm just gonna buy one. I'm just gonna buy a doll and like see how I feel about it and it was yeah that was the end. That
Isn't
was
that so
the
crazy? Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of us do that to ourselves, especially like our generation. Just, you get told a certain thing, boys do this, girls do this. And I like remember before I had thought about American Girl like on and off, I guess, over the years, but I just never occurred to me that I could buy and enjoy a doll in my 30s or like even 20s. And I like you go through these phases of like giving yourself permission and like accepting it. It sounds so crazy to me now because I'm like all over the internet like showing off this insane collection. But I remember like my partner laughs when I tell this story, but I remember like literally having the thought like after buying that doll, I was like, I hope he doesn't think less of me because I bought this doll and there's a doll coming to the house. And he was like, that's so ridiculous. Like you obviously have issues that you need to work through. So, but it's crazy, right? Like you feel like you have to like do a lot of like self therapy to like be somebody that can not only buy the doll in the first place, but then to like do a YouTube channel about it. And like, that was another step for me too. I remember before like I just like this whole YouTube thing for me started as like I was just in a Facebook group showing my collection off, like on like just with a crappy iPhone video, just saying like people were just like doing like collection tours, and I did one, and I was obviously acting like a complete jackass the entire time, making jokes and everything, and people were like, "You should do a YouTube channel." I was like, I'm not doing that on YouTube. And so, but I had enough people like kind of pressure me into doing it that I did like one like really terrible faceless video at first. But I was like, this is kind of fun. Like I kind of like doing it. And I weirdly, it like my channel like took off faster than I realized it would. I at first, I literally just took like, I Dream of Jonny is like the username from one of my like, what was supposed to be like a burner Instagram account to like just look at doll pictures.
Mm.
So I kind of like fell into it. It's just like a stupid pun. And so I like this all just kind of like happened without me realizing it. But so yeah, I'd like made this dumb video. It was fun to make. And my brother was making YouTube videos about something completely different at the time. And I just randomly mentioned it. And he was like, you should do a YouTube channel. Like, you should do this. I'm like, no, like, no way. And he's like, yeah, you need to do your YouTube channel. You make those dolls look as good as you can. You stand in front of it and you like just be on camera. Like, who cares? I'm like, yeah, who cares? So like, yeah, but basically my like brother browbeat me into doing it, and just like here I am like a year and a half later, like acting like an absolute clown with my doll collection for the internet to watch.
As long as you're enjoying it and people are enjoying it, I mean, yeah, who cares really?
It's so much fun. I've met so many cool people doing this too. And it's just, again, it's been so therapeutic to like get to a point where like there's like, I have literally no shame or embarrassment. I mean, clearly, about all of this stuff now. And it's like, it's been so therapeutic in that way to like, it's really eye opening, like how much of some of us live our lives worried about how we're going to be perceived. And I'm like, whatever. I hope my high school bullies see this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like you mentioned when you brought your first doll home or got your first doll. I was also like a little weird about buying a doll. I was with my husband at the time, and I was like, yeah, is he going to think up like a weirdo? Is he? But he had known that I've been like, you know, researching, watching for so long that I don't think it
Deleting the
was.
search history every time you're done.
Um, so I don't think he was like super surprised that I decided to like pull the trigger, I guess. But I think he was more surprised at how quickly I went deep and like, yeah, I'm literally surrounded by dolls.
Does he collect anything? Like, does he have a collector brain? Is he a
No,
minimalist?
no, he's not.
Luckily, my
Yeah,
partner's a minimalist, so like I like he knows that like I've always been a collector. I've always collected stuff. But like I remember when this doll came and I was like explaining it, I was like, oh, like, are you gonna like think that I'm like weird for doing this? He's like, this isn't even like the fifth weirdest thing you've done this week. So
yeah.
but yeah, like you were saying, like it, like there's like this self therapy thing you have to do.
And it doesn't, and yeah, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think
Hmm.
because whatever, I don't know. I don't,
They're the ones that have to live with those thoughts, not me.
right. I used to be weird about going to like the like Target or whatever to like go to the doll aisle.
Mhm.
I'd be like, all right, who's around? Who's watching me? And no one's watching you. No one is like
No.
whatever. So and now I'm just like whatever. I'll just like go in and spend like 30 minutes like looking at everything and being that guy, and I'm like whatever. So
It's so nice to be able to enjoy it, right? Like
yeah,
I remember like being a kid, because again, I was a kid that loved dolls, and it was this forbidden thing. So we would like go to Walmart, and I would like be speed walking, like acting like I was trying to get somewhere else. I'm like, oh, I see this thing over here I need, and like speed walking, like trying to soak in everything I could from the pink aisle, but it was just like forbidden to even stand there. Like I think
yeah,
a lot of people that haven't gone through that don't understand the like deep seated like anxiety you have around like being around things that are marketed towards girls, like it can really, yeah, it just, again, like I it wasn't just like the kids around me, like I had adults say like very inappropriate things to me. Now that I'm an adult, I know that that was like a really messed up thing
Right.
for someone to say to me, but like I realize now why I was so anxious about it, because it was just like you were made to feel like dirty
It,
and weird for
yeah,
just, you know.
it just takes one bad experience to make you feel like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't do that,
Yeah,
which sucks, especially as
it
a
is
kid.
bad.
Having
Mhm.
having that bad interaction as a kid is just like
Yeah,
scarring.
it's getting better now, I think, and I think that's one of the things that like kind of made me want to be more visible as a like doll collector as an adult. Is I think it is really helpful to be visible, especially, you know, even though I make content for like, you know, adults or whatever. It's, I'm sure. I mean, I've even been told like there are like parents that like watch my content with their sons and stuff, and, you know, and they just say, you know, they feel like a little less alone and liking dolls and stuff. And to me, like that's what makes all of this stuff worth it. And I'm sure, you know, too, like just being able to connect with people and be visible so that, you know, we don't feel like we're like hiding, like weirdos hiding in the shadows or
Right.
whatever. That's, I think that's ultimately what made me want to be so visible.
Yeah.
Is if it could help just be like one tiny little piece of the puzzle of making this not be so, you know, uh, you know, a weird thing for like young boys to do. So
Even for like adults, like, because I feel like a lot of adults don't understand doll collecting as an adult
no,
hobby. They get like toy collecting, action figure collecting, because you know those
mm,
aren't dolls. Those
yeah,
are different, even though they're
yeah,
dolls. Um,
absolutely. It's honestly, it's probably all rooted in misogyny when it comes down to it. I mean,
I mean, at the end of the
really. But I mean, and I say this like I'm obviously like very proud of my collection and what I do and who I am and everything. But that said, we moved to a very rural part of North Carolina, so I don't like lead with that when like I'm introducing myself to neighbors and stuff. But you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, you know, it's, people are weird about dolls. I don't know why. I mean, I do and I don't, but yeah, it's funny.
it,
But for me, like I tend to like to get to know someone first, because there's just so many preconceived notions people have about doll collectors, and I think it, like, you know, it's just, I think people like put up a wall when they think you're like, I don't know, like some disturbing weirdo. So I
I mean,
usually like don't lead with it.
yeah, a lot of people think, you know, think doll collectors are like, you know, men in their like, you know, 40s, 50s, 46 by the way, in their basement, like of their like parents' house, in this like dingy basement, like with like wall to wall dolls or whatever, playing with them and being creepy.
Have you seen
Um,
that episode of Will and Grace where they have the neighbor that has like the doll collection? Or maybe it's bears. I think it's dolls.
it sounds vaguely familiar.
They have this new neighbor that moved into the building. It's been a while since I've seen the episode, but he comes over and he invites them to like lunch or dinner or whatever at their house, and he's like totally like normal seeming. I say normal, but then they show up to his apartment. They go sit down to have dinner, and it's at this tiny table, and they're having like tea with all his dolls, and they're like, so I think that's what people envision.
Yeah, yeah, just like weirdos. And I think people, I mean, it's people just don't like weirdness. I guess they don't
Mm,
like like um, I don't know. I think it's also, I mean, this is a whole other conversation, but it's like, you know, it's about being gay and being like embracing the difference, embracing the
mm.
uniqueness, and you know,
Yeah.
it's just part of it. It's just, you know, it's just another layer. It's like, you know,
Mhm.
we're very layered creatures. They don't want to invest time in getting to know people like that, and they take people at face value. And but
It can
anyway,
be, honestly, it can be a good filter. I say this to people all the time that are having trouble. Like, connecting with people for whatever reason. If there's something on the surface level about them that like makes it hard for them to find friends or meet people, it's ultimately like a really good thing. Like that's why, like when I got to college and was like able to like finally come out and just live authentically, like I literally would tell people I was gay like the minute I met them, because I wanted to know who they were so that I didn't waste my time. Like, like it's a really good filter. Sometimes you can like,
Right.
um, if someone's going to be homophobic or whatever, it's just like, okay, well, I know not to like bother spending time getting to know you or whatever. So, a lot of times they can be good filters, because it can, weed out people that just are judgmental, and usually it's just because they're dealing with their own issues, obviously. But yeah,
Right.
sometimes it can be a good thing being weird and different, because, it's just, it helps filter out people you don't want to be around anyway. So
Yeah. Um, I 1,000% agree. Is there anything you would love to, or you would like to plug?
okay, so I'm at I Dream of Jonny, which is Jonny, pretty much everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, idreamofjohnny.com. I have merch and stuff that helps support my channel. It's all like doll related. Yeah, anywhere that's worth being, I'm at I Dream of Jonny.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan,
Thank you,
for
Enzo. This was fun.
joining me. I feel like I know so much more about you and American Girl dolls. So,
Believe me, you can have me back and I can probably give you a whole other hour on even more information.
well, I will let you know if and when I purchase my first American Girl doll. So,
Yeah, or American Boy doll, most
or
likely.
American Boy doll, yeah, whichever one.
Okay, we'll put that out into the universe too.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my conversation with Jonathan. I hope you enjoyed. I had a lovely time chatting with him, and yeah, it's interesting to kind of learn about other doll brands, and I love doing these types of videos because it kind of opens my eyes to what else is out there, and I love that. So yeah, definitely give Jonathan a follow on social media. Obviously, subscribe to him on YouTube. I will put all of his links and everything in the description below. And yeah, as always, thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't already, please remember to subscribe. And I hope you have a lovely whenever you're watching this. And I will catch you next time.